Now, days before the D-Day for the United States politics, early voting ahead of the November 3rd polling has broken records. More than 62 million Americans have already cast their ballots. The early voting count has now surpassed an estimated early votes total of about 58 million, which was recorded in the 2016 election. The record-breaking pace could lead to the highest U.S. voter turnout by percentage in more than a century. Large amounts of the early vote have come from 3 states: California, Texas and Florida. While California is a likely win for the Democrats, Texas and Florida polls indicate a close race between Democratic challenger Joe Biden and Trump. Now, Trump had won Florida and Texas in the year 2016, and Texas's early vote is currently pegged at 81.9% of its total 2016 turnout, and Florida has already gotten to 62.8% of its total 2016 turnout. Our correspondent Jagriti Dave is still with us live from Washington, D.C. Thanks for staying with us, Jagriti. Now, more than 60 million votes already cast in what is the biggest voter turnout in more than a century. Tell us more a little bit about the trends and predictions.
Yes, so as you say, more than 60 million Americans have already cast their ballots in early voting. States have expanded the ways in which Americans can vote, largely due to the coronavirus pandemic, to avoid those long lines on November the 3rd itself. So while we, talk about a countdown towards Election Day, well, really, so many Americans have already voted in the US election. Nationally, Joe Biden is leading in the polls. An average of the national polls suggests that he's leading by about 9 points. But of course, in those battleground states, some of those which you mentioned, the races are exceedingly tight. You look in states like Florida, in Georgia, in North Carolina, you have very, very tight races where it's difficult to call either way. Many of these states, of course, President Trump took in 2016. So in the last stretch towards the finish line, both campaigns are targeting those key battleground states which they believe are crucial to their chances for the White House.
Right. My last question for you. Both candidates have been campaigning on full speed, and Barrett's confirmation is a big victory, of course, for Trump. So what more can we expect in days to come before the November 3rd election?
Yeah, well, President Trump is going full steam ahead with a marathon round of campaigning. He's held 3 separate rallies in Pennsylvania today, and he's expected to hold multiple daily rallies in states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Nebraska. Joe Biden, he has campaigned very differently. He has conducted smaller and fewer campaign events. They've been socially distant, and there's been mask wearing, which is very different to the big crowd rallies that President Trump has held and is likely to continue to hold in these states across the United States, where it must be remembered coronavirus cases are rising, which is causing a lot of concern amongst local officials as well as health officials. Joe Biden is going to do some campaigning in Florida and Georgia, for example, but he's focusing a lot of his campaign is focusing a lot of their intention on ad campaigns. Remember, Joe Biden has brought in a lot of money from fundraising, which he is going to be spending on online and television campaigns in that last stretch. So both full steam ahead for both camps on the road to November the 3rd.
Right, Jagriti, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast and for all your inputs.